Alright, welcome back. I'm going to play another rapid game. Playing a bunch in quick succession tonight. Played three already. Looking to upload all of them tonight if possible. Doing so well in the rapid so far. 3 for 3. Trying to make the most out of the fact while I still have a large K factor here. It's provisional games. Alright, back to white. Let's play knight f3 again. And okay, so we're actually going to play a bit passively against this. We're going to go for structure orientation. This is a very solid structure. I get this a lot when I play black. All right, so taking. So actually, this is now, well, almost transposed to an exchange. Caro-Kann. We'll see. All right, bishop d3 makes the most sense. Going to castle quickly. So yeah, d5. So yeah, so this is, I'll explain this in the post-game analysis. But in the exchange Caro-Kann, you typically get your bishop outside the pawn chain, which would be an improvement over what's happened here. So c3 is a reasonable move. I think as soon as knight c6 happens, we're going to want c3. So let's start with c3. Bishop f4. Okay. Yeah, bishop f4. Controlling this diagonal. Black can attack me. Okay, so one of black's main sources of counterplay in the structure, the so-called like Carlsbad structure, although this is a reversed version of that, I can explain that as well post-game, is to do this minority attack of pawns. The minority of pawns being the 2, the majority here being 3 or 4, however you want to count it. That's something that I should stop. I don't need to allow it, and I'm not going to allow it. Yeah, so by placing the knight here, he'd love to trade for my bishop. I would not like that to happen, so, but now the knight is a bit misplaced, so did I lose some time? Maybe, but black lost some time too. Okay, this is very provocative. Notice that I have an open file, and there's a weak pawn here. Black hopes to compensate for that by placing a knight in this outpost here, but he's doing all this before even castling. This seems very odd. One thing I should account for too is that maybe f4 is an intention, trying to eat at my bishop here. So what to do? I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. So it's possible for me to move my knight with the discovered attack on this knight, but I can't really seem to make anything out of it. Unless I go here. Actually, that's a very interesting move. Attacks this knight and this pawn. If bishop takes, I have queen takes, and I'm winning the bishop. That looks... Am I... Okay, so he can play knight here. I think that's his only move. But then I bring my bishop back. I didn't calculate this fully. I hate taking up too much time, and it looked good enough. Okay, well that I think loses, right? You get check, and I've gone up a piece. So yeah, count the pieces here, and I have this extra guy. So that worked out well. Let's attack this pawn here. My opponent's playing fast like nothing happened, but something happened. Here, again, black is being, okay, so here, obviously I can take that, but I think even stronger, I'm going to kick the knight. Knight's going to come to d6, and then don't I just have bishop e7? What am I missing here? Bishop e7, and then we're forced to move this knight again and give up the exchange, or just lose the knight entirely. So, I mean, these are rapid games. Why is my opponent playing so fast? You have time. All right, so there's nothing to think about. Let's just take that. Let's play f3. If takes, I'm going to pick it up this way. I was pinning it to the king. Well, not like that, but on this file. So now I'm up a full rook. So to be clear here, I'm up a full rook. Let's play knight, bring my knight out. Well, I want to play my rook here. I can also play my pawn to c4. Bishop c6. I mean, many ways to go about this. I'm just briefly looking. Okay, let's just play actively. We'll attack this pawn. Let's give a check because the king has to come here and then here. So in doing this little stutter step to get the king here, now his rook can't come defend. All right, so now we have a resignation. Of course, if the bishop defended, we would just one more time attacking the pawn, and I'm crashing through. So this was a really quick and simple game. My opponent just blundered, and that was the end of it. The theme for the night here has been that whatever's wrong with Lee chess analysis prevents you from actually analyzing your game with the server, which is a bit of a shame. So let's see what happened here. There are two analogous positions that I mentioned in these games. Yeah, so the first one that we can talk about is after this move d5. Say bishop d3. We've gotten some version, and actually not a good version of it for white. Well, maybe it just transposes, but this is the exchange version of the Caro-Kann to show a different move order to reach the same position. c6, preparing d5. Takes, say bishop d3, knight f6. Typically you don't go knight, you go c3 here, but then black can go here anyways. And as you can see, we don't really want to just, I mean, white's going to have a solid position, sure, but we'd rather not just step into this pin. So that's why the most common move here is queen b3. Black is very fine in these positions, and I did say as soon as I played e3 that I was playing in a passive way, and this is the result of passive play like this. It's very easy for black to get an equalish position, but I was okay with that. I didn't want to. I'm like I said in the game, I'm getting these structures a lot with black, so I just want to practice the structure. So that's what happened here. e6, a little weird. This is the best square for my bishop. Most normal move. Bishop e7. I can castle right away, which is what I did. And d5. So yeah, so suddenly we've gotten the same structure that you would get from that Caro-Kann position, but it seems like somehow black forgot to bring the bishop outside of the chain first. So it's going to be a bit of a problem for black to develop this in the future. I started with c3. Of course, you can start with other moves. I feel like knight to d2 makes a lot of sense. Still playing for c3, but maybe just covering the square first. There's no way that black would have played knight e4 anyways, though. So if you're already playing knight bd2, you're revealing your hand is that you're going to play the pawn to the square instead. So this is a very flexible move. I think both are fine. Of course, I was trying to figure out which of those players. Okay, so it was these players. So a very strong player, I think that's Jorge Corey. He's a Peruvian player, if I remember, or George Corey. I don't know if it's Jorge. I think George Corey, and he played rook e1, it seems. Makes a lot of sense as well. Maybe this knight is going to reroute like this. As you can see, we're not using the e file anytime soon. So I think the specific move order is very, it's flexible here. Many good moves. Looks like c3 is a top choice by the computer. Bishop f4 right away is a top choice. Yeah, so, yeah, bishop f4. I don't feel like I've done anything wrong. a6. I guess black isn't ready to play here, so I don't need to stop it right away. And in fact, the computer's just letting it happen. I don't know why. I feel like Okay, it's nearly the same advantage, and I don't allow this counterplay by black. I don't know why I wouldn't just play a4. That's something that I'd have to explore in more depth. Um, why exactly it doesn't matter that we give black their typical plan. Okay, knight h5. Okay, both of these squares are fine. Yeah, f5, very strange move. I played knight g5. I saw it flicker there for a second. There are lots of possible moves here. Actually, c4 should have come to mind. Black isn't castled yet. Let's bust open the center. Importantly, if we're allowed to take, this pawn isn't defended. So c4, maybe we defend it with the bishop, or maybe we castle, or maybe we take it. A lot of, and as soon as I move this knight, you're going to be in danger. Rook e1, like I said, there's also this open file now. You can put the rook on the open file. But in general, it seems like the computer here is screaming, hey, c4, this is the right plan. So I did not play the right plan. I played knight g5, a bit of a provocative move, but I was kind of fishing for a mistake. And since black's only move here is knight d to f6, or g6, giving up the pawn. But you wouldn't want to do that. It's twice as worse, apparently, 1.1 and 2.2. I figured that there was no harm in doing this. Kind of strands the knight anyways. So, but yeah, not this. This is a mistake. And the rest is history. Castles, rook e1. Yeah, many ways to win here. So that's that pretty quick game, pretty quick center. I feel like my analysis post game was almost as long as the game itself. There was one other position before I forget. What was the position that I was referring to? Which position was that? So there was the Caro-Kann transposition, and there was something else. Oh, right, I said Carlsbad structure. That's what this is typically called, Carlsbad structure. That's because it says something like this. I'll just make up some moves here. There are lots of possible ways to do this. Notice that it's the exact opposite. Obviously I would have played my bishop out first, but in these positions, you've got these 4 pawns and these 2 pawns. It's a mirror of what we had in our game where I had my pawns. I'll just do it in a different color for clarity's sake. I have my pawns here. Sorry, I had my pawns here, and black's pawns were these 2. So typical plan is to trade these pawns off for some of these, and notice that you can, like, imagine if these 2 pawns were to disappear, then the remaining 2 would be quite weak. That's the idea. You break up the pawns and you use that as your attempt at an advantage. Try to win the pawns, win some pawns, then you have extra pawns. Extra pawns means a chance to queen a pawn, and that's the flow of the game. So those were the 2 things. Pretty straightforward game. It's easy to say, like, oh, I lost this game because I blundered for my opponent. But already here, e6 is a questionable decision in conjunction with d5. And also questionable is f5, very, very provocative. I'm ahead in development. Your knight is stranded. This is weak. Yeah, of course, like they say, attack on the flank gets met by an attack in the center, although they're both kind of like flank, central flank. They're all within this larger center sphere. But yeah, c4 is well timed here, as is rook e1, c4, and then knight g5 wasn't such a bad move either. So I'm happy with that game. I learned something. Cued in my mind is this move c4. Next time something like this happens. I hope you learned something too, and I'll see you in the next game as we try to bump our provisional rating up higher and higher to make the most out of our large, I guess they call it K factor for the changing of ratings. So thank you, and see you next time.